Okay, hello class. This is Michael Tracy here with TUIT. How many of you watched the president's remarks last night? Please, let's have a show of hands. Okay, very good. You may have noticed that the big theme coming out of Trump's address to Congress last night is that there was suddenly a new Trump. His tone has changed. A guidepost has been passed in his presidency, and everybody should be really, I don't know, interested or excited about that. I think the thing to keep in mind is that the punditocracy or the chattering class are constantly grasping for new narratives to brandish because it makes politics like a big storyline. It makes politics out to be this series of plots that viewers can excitedly follow along with, and that makes them more likely to tune in to cable news and click on stories and so on and so forth. CNN has just reported that they've gotten a massive surge in viewership in recent months. So it's in their interest to kind of have this constant shifting of how Trump is portrayed because it makes it out to be like a soap opera, and you can't help but want to tune in. So the pundits were mostly laudatory of this speech. They thought the tone was remarkably refreshing to the extent that they had complaints. And this is what I love. This is such an irony. To the extent that they did complain, it was that Trump maybe emphasized his so-called isolationism a little too heavily. So I was happened to be watching the CNN broadcast, and Dana Bash got on afterwards. You know, she's supposed to be this neutral, just observer. She doesn't have any kind of partisan leaning, right? But she got on air and complained that maybe Trump was too isolationist in his speech. Now, of all the traits that are worrying about Trump, is isolationism chief among them? I mean, do we really think that he's insufficiently aggressive on the world stage? I sort of doubt it. In that very same address last night, he touted the supposed success of the raid in Yemen, the commando raid in Yemen that took place, or the Joint Special Operations raid in Yemen that took place shortly after he assumed office, resulted in dozens, I think, of civilian casualties. I have to check the exact number, but it was quite a few, and including an American-born girl, or a girl who has American citizenship by dint of her father being an American citizen. She was killed in the raid, and so was a U.S. military member. And he was obviously, praised to high heavens at this speech, and his wife was shown on camera weeping. So pundits were very impressed by that moment because it made Trump seem so-called presidential, a term that is never really defined, just sort of whatever is in the eye of the beholder, what a pundit thinks a president should behave like. And I think, the fact that the pundits were so impressed, and let me just quote to you a tweet from Robert Acosta here, who is a very plugged-in reporter, always has sources whispering to him. He tweets this morning, quote, "Some sources in the White House are frankly surprised at how pundits are warming to the speech. Say Trump has not changed, no big shift in policy coming." So there's no shift in policy coming. Trump is basically the same. He just delivered a speech in a semi-coherent fashion, and everybody loved it. And I think what this indicates is that the punditocracy is principally concerned with tonal issues. They really want to be on the same team as the president. I mean, they yearn for that. And that's why they've been so dispirited lately, because it seems like they've been set up as this opposition force, when ideally for them, they would want to be working in tandem with the president. They in large part did that under Obama, some exceptions obviously, but they perceive their role as, being on the same team as the chief executive of the government. So it's uncomfortable for them to be positioned as adversaries. And to the extent that they can goad Trump into being on their team, that's what they'll attempt to do. And I think that's what the source was of this adulation last night. There's a great roundup that Adam Johnson of the group FAIR put out today. Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting. That's a group everybody should subscribe to, just because they are constantly monitoring the inanity of the media narratives that being spun. So you had Van Jones gushing about how extraordinary the speech was. You had Chris Cillizza saying, "Oh my God, this was the best speech Trump has given since he became a candidate in June 2015," because he was just so moved by the Navy SEAL portion. This was a Reagan-esque moment Reagan-esque moment for Trump, proclaims Politico's John Bresnahan. This is the best morning of Trump's presidency, tweeted Philip Rucker, who's the White House bureau chief of the Washington Post. So, I mean, Trump loves this stuff. People, I think, don't appreciate how much he's driven by this desire to be adulated by the media. Remember, he was birthed by the media. He became a figure of any notoriety because he was able to successfully manipulate and forge relationships with the New York City tabloid media. And then he became a national figure because he was able to parlay that media notoriety into a television show that ran for, what was it, 11 years? So he wants to be in the good graces of the media. He craves validation. And for him to have been so widely praised by Punditocracy, that doesn't alarm him. I think he thinks that's wonderful, and he probably want more of it, notwithstanding his posturing as an opponent of the media. He's always moved in media circles throughout much of his entire life prior to this campaign, and I think he'd prefer to continue doing that. So that, I think, does it. Let me know what you thought of the speech. Do you think I'm on the mark here? If not, screw you. Not just kidding. I know. I feel like sometimes it's worth just doing some media criticism now and then, just because it's such a dominant the media narratives that are being woven, or it's such a dominant influence in how people perceive politics, and tons of people are plugged into politics right now. So I think it's crucial to be cognizant of how those narratives are constructed when you're interpreting how events unfold. Otherwise, you sort of, I think, lose an understanding of how to best process this stuff. So that will do it. Talk to you later.